What's up, everybody? So tough loss for the Minnesota Vikings today, but that's football. It's any given Sunday, and it is what it is. But that's not the point of this video today. Today, I actually want to share a Hmong Paaj Lug with you all. And I especially want to share this Paaj Lug to support and also to bring awareness to the issues surrounding domestic violence. So hence the color purple during the month of October. So the Paaj Lug that I want to share with you all today is Sang lo nyuj su lo ntuj, sang lo je su lo te. All right, once more. Sang lo nyuj su lo ntuj, sang lo je su lo te. In translation into English, you thought it was the size of a cow, when in fact it was the size of the world. You thought it was the size of a rock, when in fact it was the size of the many acres you've been working on. Essentially, what this metaphor is talking about is this. It's telling us that we shouldn't dismiss the small issues because they could potentially be something larger than we initially thought. Now, when I talk about this, the first thing that comes to mind is our physical health. And I'll speak about this from first-hand experience because we like to be macho. Yeah. More like we're like, oh, it's okay, which maybe all bay week chizon law. Gala kuching, kya kuching auto bana ke chitamoko doctor le. Nya openuse in clouses So joke doctor, so joke hospital, me who ambulance to meteo, so we're super macho. That's she what it's trying to tell us is that the young law, we should probably look into it because it might potentially be larger than we thought and it might have long-term consequences. Now, what does this have to do with domestic violence? I want to reference this Paaj Lug to domestic violence because domestic violence is something that I feel doesn't receive the attention that it deserves, and it tends to slide under the radar. Now, with domestic violence, your victims, perpetrator on, they tend to minimize these issues sometimes. They might say things like, oh, and so they more minimize later on it could potentially erupt into something larger, where they get brutally beaten, or they get put in a position where they can't overcome anymore, a state of depression, in a stage where they're just so incapacitated that they can't function on a daily basis anymore. And when we hear about domestic violence, we think about physical abuse. And that's true because with physical abuse, you can control a person. And oftentimes women, they're the victims of domestic violence. They can control the person. If they're the perpetrator, they can control the person with their physicality. They use that to intimidate a person, to put shame and put fear into the person, essentially turning that person into a puppet that the perpetrator controls. And that's true too, but the thing we also need to be aware of is the psychological and emotional abuse that happens during domestic violence. So maybe control spouse that person might use their verbal expression. So that verbal control also is a form of abuse, called verbal abuse. And domestic violence happens very often, and the dangerous thing about domestic violence is this: it does not discriminate. It doesn't matter if you are a male or female, Hmong, man, it doesn't matter. And the saddest thing too is that even kids get perpetrated on. And we need to be aware of this. Parenting sometimes, you're a bit punished, and we're not aware of that. Sometimes we might punish them to a certain extent. It has long-term consequences, long-term implications. Punishment, there's long-term effects of that punishment that we need to be aware of. So today I want to share this Paaj Lug in reference to domestic violence to let the victims and those who have been perpetrated on to know that you should not minimize these things. It's a very serious issue. And again, in reality, it's the size of it's actually larger than you thought. So I'm speaking about this Paaj Lug in a very general sense because it can be applied to many different settings. And again, I'm talking about domestic abuse and violence in a very general sense as well. But I hope that this is something that'll spark you to look into more about what domestic abuse is, to bring awareness about domestic violence to the community. And we're cognizant about what it is and its prevalence. So that hopefully one day we can prevent it, reduce it, and maybe even eliminate it completely. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Any questions, please do let me know. Again, that was I spoke about that in a very general sense, but I hope that does stimulate some of you to look into what domestic violence is. All right. Any questions, again, let me know. Take care. Be well. Peace out.